Your worst dating disaster probably involves someone who is emotionally unavailable, financially irresponsible, or completely obsessed with their career at your expense. But during the Gilded Age, one American heiress named Mary Leiter made a relationship decision so catastrophically bad, it literally killed her before she turned 40. She spent millions of dollars to buy herself a husband whose political ambitions would systematically destroy her health, happiness, and will to live over the course of 11 brutal years. Her story is the ultimate cautionary tale about what happens when unlimited money meets unlimited male ego, proving that even the most privileged women in history were vulnerable to husbands who viewed marriage as a business transaction. So today, on Old Money Allure, we explored how Lord Curzon destroyed the American heiress who made his career possible. Meet Mary Victoria Leiter, the ultimate Gilded Age success story who had everything money could buy, except a husband who wouldn't literally work her to death. Born in 1870 into the kind of obscene wealth that makes modern billionaires look like they're re-slumming it. Mary was daddy's little princess with a $20 million trust fund. Her father, Levi Leiter, co-founded the dry goods empire that became the legendary Marshall Field and Company. Mary's childhood was a non-stop parade of Gilded Age excess. Summers were spent lounging at their ridiculously opulent Lake Geneva mansion, complete with their own steam yacht, because walking to the lake was apparently for peasants. When Mary turned 11, her socially ambitious mother made a power move, relocating the family to Washington, D.C., where they bought a spectacular 55-room mansion on DuPont Circle. This wasn't just showing off. This was strategic warfare in the marriage market, designed to attract titled European fortune hunters who needed American cash to keep their crumbling estates afloat. Mary, nicknamed the Lake Geneva Princess, was groomed for aristocratic greatness by an army of tutors. She became besties with the most powerful women in America, including First Lady Frances Folsom, Cleveland. By 1890, 20-year-old Mary was ready to conquer London society, where desperate British aristocrats were practically lining up to auction off their titles to the highest American bidder. At one of those glittering London balls, Mary spotted her perfect target, George Nathaniel Curzon, a 35-year-old politician with devastating good looks, brilliant prospects, and financial problems that would make a loan shark weep. Curzon was the ideal aristocratic fixer-upper project, intellectually formidable, politically ambitious, and completely, spectacularly broke. Mary took one look at this gorgeous disaster and declared, "I will have him because I believe he needs me." I have no shame. This wasn't romance. This was a young woman with unlimited resources, recognizing she had found the perfect investment opportunity disguised as a husband. Curzon, meanwhile, was busy calculating exactly how much of Mary's fortune he'd need to resurrect his lifestyle. What nobody realized was that Mary was about to make the worst business deal in Gilded Age history, one that would buy her the highest political rank ever achieved by an American woman, and cost her everything else, including her life. Their 2-year secret engagement should have come with giant red warning flags. George insisted on finishing his precious political business before bothering with little details like actually talking to his fiancée, establishing a charming pattern of treating Mary like an inconvenient appointment. To barely any contact, they finally tied the knot on April 22nd, 1895. The ceremony was simple. It's probably because the Leiter family was saving their energy for the real celebration, writing the check that would bail out their new son-in-law. The Leiters immediately provided a jaw-dropping $200,000 dowry and paid off every single one of Curzon's crushing debts. As one observer noted, initially, Curzon had married Mary for her money, but he soon fell deeply in love with her, which was Victorian speak, for he learned to tolerate her after she saved him from bankruptcy. Mary's social rocket ship reached stratospheric heights in 1898 when Curzon landed the ultimate prize, appointment as Viceroy of India at the ridiculously young age of 39. This transformed Mary into the Viceroy of India, making her the most powerful American woman in the entire British Empire, literally second only to Queen Victoria herself. The position placed Mary at just 28 years old in charge of governing over 400 million people. She had to preside over state functions, so elaborate they made Versailles look like a backyard barbecue. She became legendary for her appearance at the 1903 Delhi Durbar, where she wore the iconic peacock dress that became the most famous outfit in imperial history. An Indian poet described her as a rose of roses bright. A vision of embodied light, Mary threw herself into the role, becoming Curzon's secret weapon. She founded hospitals for women's health care, supported female doctors, and her conservation advocacy helped establish what became Kaziranga National Park. The couple had 3 daughters during these years. Political insiders credited much of Curzon's early success to Mary's grace and supernatural ability to make his unpopular policies seem almost reasonable. But the same imperial grandeur that made Mary historically significant was already destroying her health, happiness, and will to live. The imperial paradise that elevated Mary to unprecedented heights was about to become her gilded prison. The breaking point came in the summer of 1904, when Mary suffered a near-fatal illness, almost certainly linked to a miscarriage and subsequent infection that permanently wrecked her health. Here's where Curzon revealed his true character. Instead of staying with his dying wife, he rushed back to India to play politics. This abandonment during her most vulnerable moment proved that Curzon valued his career more than Mary's life. When Mary dragged herself back to India, half dead, the decision was essentially suicide by imperial duty. Everyone could see her transforming from the vibrant Lake Geneva princess into a walking ghost. Curzon's increasingly monstrous personality made everything worse. His decision to partition Bengal in 1905 sparked massive riots, creating political chaos that Mary had to help manage. Curzon's insistence on accepting a second term as viceroy, despite Mary's obvious health crisis, proved he was either completely oblivious or simply didn't care. The final political disaster came when Curzon picked a fight with Lord Kitchener, the commander-in-chief, over bureaucratic reforms. The ego battle escalated into a governmental crisis that ended with Curzon being forced to resign in humiliating disgrace in the summer of 1905. By the time they slunk back to England, Mary was visibly dying. 7 years of imperial service had destroyed her so completely that recovery was impossible. Curzon had gotten exactly what he wanted from their marriage: money, status, and power. Mary was about to pay the ultimate price. The final chapter of Mary Leiter Curzon's life began the moment they returned to England. Mary's body was so wrecked by tropical diseases, reproductive trauma, and sheer exhaustion that even the best doctors couldn't put her back together. A vacation was planned, but she was already past the point of no return. The emotional toll was perhaps even worse than the physical damage, as years of being abandoned by Curzon had left her psychologically shattered. On July 18, 1906, just a year after escaping the Indian nightmare, Mary's overworked heart finally gave up. She was only 36 years old, leaving behind 3 young daughters. Mary died in Curzon's arms, her body simply stopping its function. The official cause was heart failure, but everyone knew the real killer was 11 years of marriage to a man who treated his wife like a political accessory. Following Mary's death, Curzon went into theatrical mourning mode, commissioning an elaborate memorial chapel. He hired a famous sculptor to create a marble effigy expressing the pathos of his wife's premature death. The devastating irony is that her family's massive fortune proved worthless when it came to purchasing the one thing she desperately needed: a husband who valued her life more than his career. Mary had achieved the impossible dream of every Gilded Age dollar princess, but the price was her health, her happiness, and ultimately her life. Her premature death stands as the ultimate cautionary tale about the human cost of unchecked ambition. Mary Leiter Curzon proved that money could buy aristocratic titles, imperial power, and a place in history, but not happiness or longevity. Her death at 36 is a stark reminder of the cost of marrying for status rather than love. Despite ruling over 400 million people, she couldn't save herself from a husband who treated her like a political investment. Now, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. What shocked you most about Mary's tragic story? Thank you for watching another episode of Old Money Allure, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.